if you're playing with your buddies and you get that nice little flush draw going on, and your friends are stood behind you, and you're there, and you just see that ball fly, that nice little draw. It can look more appealing and more satisfying. Welcome to the channel, guys. My name's Danny Malcolm. Thanks for joining me today. We're here at the Perth Golf Centre studio, and I just thought I wanted to share over the last couple of days, out of the maybe 20 or so lessons that I've given in the studio, most amateurs, bar maybe one or two, have wanted to draw the ball. So I'm just curious, like, why is that most want to draw, whereas most pros typically would like to fade it? So I'll share some things, some thoughts that I feel might be the reasons. We'd love to hear your thoughts, your comments, so post them below. Just having a bit of a chat here, and I'll hit a few shots and just maybe discuss why that might be. So firstly, why do amateurs want to draw it? What I've found, I think, over the last few days and just in 20 years of coaching, I think distance is one. So, typically a draw is going to present more distance. When you get the club face closing relative to the path, the spin loft reduces, therefore, effectively you're hitting with less club, therefore the ball's going to go further, the smash factor is going to increase, the ball speed is going to increase. So I think that's one big reason, because if I just hit a couple of shots here, I'll hit a draw first of all. I'll try and keep it relatively similar with the speed. You see the numbers on the bottom there. So you've got a spin loft there of 25, spin axis 7 left, and that's gone 179 yards with my 7 iron. If I try and do a similar speed, just playing a fade, similar speed here. So what we got there, actually more speed. That was actually more speed at 89 miles an hour. Spin axis to the right, 14 right, face to path, left with the path open with the face. Spin lofts there at 28 degrees. So you can see just in those instances, I actually swung that one harder, and you can see the spin loft before with the draw was lower, it's traveled further with less speed. That one there, more speed, spin loft increased, and you can start to see, you'll see with spin rates as well, that'll also change. So less spin before, more spin with the fade. So I think that really highlights really quite well, I think, that first aspect that I think most amateurs prefer to draw, because a lot of amateurs are struggling with the distance. So I think that's one thing, that's probably one of the biggest. I think second point might be, maybe it's a fix for a slice, just like a neutral fix for a slice. So a lot of amateurs typically are slicing the ball, and if it's controlled one, so if you're hitting like left to right and it's more of a little controlled left to right, and the ball's landing in the same spot, not the same spot, but pretty good grouping, pretty consistent, because most golfers want to be consistent when they come in. But if you're hitting that shot consistently, that is consistent. That's consistently kind of what you're doing, and you can play with that. So if players are doing that, I try and say, well, just stick with that, really, and just aim however many yards left, play with that. It's a trusted shot shape. But then you might want more distance, they maybe like the look of that fade, and so obviously we'll work on changing that, but that's something that they could play under pressure. However, if it's getting out of control and you're hitting a slice and it's getting a bit wild and you're really losing distance and losing control, then I think try and hit the draws, a natural fix for that. So if you're hitting big slices, then learning how to get the club more from in to out, how to close the face relative to your path, and hitting more of a hook pattern in training, fighting fire with fire, if you like, hitting it the other way. I think over time, if you're a big slicer of the ball, you've got an open face, you're cutting across it. So trying to do the opposite can help you alleviate that. So at least if you know how to do the other way, I think amateurs, it helps them then alleviate that slice. The only challenge is then the ball flight can be less predictable when they're trying to do that on the golf course. It's not as well ingrained, obviously, into their swing. So taking that onto the course, all of a sudden it brings 2 misses into play. So that can be the downside to it. But I think as an amateur, it's useful to know how to do it. So I think that yeah, that may be another point. It like gives an extra tool. So there's times on the course where, yeah, as an amateur, you might need to curve it from right to left. It might be a dog leg. You might be around a tree, and if you don't know how to get the club from in to out, if you don't know how to close the face to hook it around a tree and get it down the fairway, then you don't have that tool. So you might have to chip out a little bit to the side, and then you're not improving the strokes gained. Your next shot approach is a long way back. So I think that's another point. I don't think necessarily that's what most amateurs would want to hit a draw for, that particularly come in to see me, but I think that's one thing that could benefit them, because it's an extra tool in the toolbox that they can pull out at certain times. So what else? I think as well, maybe I think satisfying, like it's just satisfying for amateurs to just hit a draw, and maybe with your buddies. I don't know, you guys tell me, like if you're playing with your buddies and you get that nice little flush draw going on, and your friends are stood behind you, and you're there, and you just see that ball fly, that nice little draw, it can look more appealing and more satisfying. So that could be another reason why the amateurs want to hit a draw. And we all love that feel of a well-struck shot. So yeah, so I don't know if there's any more I can think of there for amateurs. Again, you guys, if you've got any thoughts on that, just post them below. Would love to keep that conversation going, because it's something, yeah, I see on a daily basis. And again, just these last couple of days, literally maybe 19 out of 20, 21 lessons have all wanted to draw the ball. So, and that's everyday golfers. And so, yeah, just curious. And on the flip side, the professional most often times would want to hit a fade. So why do you think that is? So fade, I mean, one thing is it's probably more consistent, more control on a fade. Typically with a fade, as you see there, for example, if you just put on here just a landing angle, for example there. So a fade is going to come in typically steeper. It's going to roll less. So when it lands, so I hit a fade in here. So typically that's going to land in a little bit steeper there at 49 degrees. It's landed at 153 yards, carried at 153, run out to 157. So it's landed nice and steep and stopped really quick. Conversely, if I hit a draw shape, you'll see the landing angle will come in flatter. So that's coming at 46 degrees. It's landed at 173 and it's ran out almost 10 yards. So in terms of control, obviously less spin as well. So in terms of control and holding greens, holding flags, I think that becomes more challenging. Hitting a draw, it can get a little bit more out of control, and the tall players playing on typically firm greens, they need more control and more stop. So I think that's one big reason why tall players like to hit a fade. I think as well, less bad shots, so you avoid trouble, because the fade typically, as we saw there with the spin loft, has increased spin loft. Therefore, the ball is spinning more back than it is to the side. So therefore, any errant shots, any discrepancy with that face and path, it's going to curve less. So it's going to get less into trouble. So you see that a lot with the tall players to keep the ball in play, hitting the fades, whereas a draw on the flip side presents less spin loft, so the ball is effectively spinning more to the side than it is back. So that's another big reason I think why pros do it. And I think also with the club face, so I've had the fortunate position to have been coached in my career with some phenomenal golf coaches, and even before I got coaching myself, starting to understand a bit more of this. But now when you get to coaching, you understand. And the fade allows a player to swing a bit steeper, swing more sort of left for the right-hander, and hold that face more. Now the face is always closing. It's always got some rate of closure, of course, but ultimately a fade, you're going to have less of that. So you can almost like hold it a bit through the strike, less rate of closure, therefore relies a little bit less on timing on the day. And so you can hit that and just feel like you're swinging left, and you actually never miss it left. If you keep rotating, you're never going to miss it left. So it kind of helps alleviate that. You might get the odd pull, but typically you're not going to hook it. Whereas when you're trying to draw it, it's very easy to, if you don't quite time it and get a little bit too shut, as that face is closing relative to the path. Very easy to get one that just goes a bit out of control and you can just snap it left. And I think that's the one that tour players just don't like to see. So the elite players just don't like to see left for the right hand there. So then I think another point is, yeah, it's just more reliable under pressure, more reliable. And one of my big things for players is to find your shot shape, the trusted shot shape that you can hit under pressure. It might not be a fade. It might be the draw for some. There's tour players that have that as their stock shape. But yeah, so click the link below for some of my top tips. That's one of them. And I think that's then, you want to be in a spot where, and pros do when under the pressure on the back nine, they want to be able to commit to a shot. And I think hitting that fade just allows them to swing a little bit steeper, get a little bit left on it, and not worry about that left miss. And as well, they have more speed typically. So they've got more club head speed, of course, and therefore they don't need that extra distance boost that the amateur might need with the draw and the less spin loft. So yeah, I think that's some of my key thoughts there. We'll just love to hear your thoughts, guys. I just thought I'd share that as it's something that's come up just recently and had that discussion a bit with a client yesterday. So yeah, let me know your thoughts and what your preferred shot shape is. Is that the case as an amateur, as an everyday golfer watching this video? Do you prefer the fade? Do you prefer the draw? Any pros watching? Yeah, tell me your thoughts there as well. Would love to hear some other coaches' opinions. But yeah, I'll leave that there, guys. And if you've got any comments on that, let me know. Yeah, thanks so much for watching. Hope that was some insight and just got us thinking a little bit more, and yeah, gets you thinking a bit about your game and what your preferred flight is as well. So thanks for watching, guys. I look forward to seeing you on the next video.